Attention passionate Atlanta, Falcons fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC South and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Atlanta Falcons' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Atlanta Falcons fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Atlanta, FALCONS FANS. Let's get to the news. Now, folks, hold on to your hats because the NFL offseason is heating up, and the Atlanta Falcons are right in the middle of it. The latest buzz coming out of the league involves a blockbuster trade that could reshape the NFC South and, more importantly, give the Falcons a real shot at elevating their defense to a whole new level. You see, the Jaguars, who are looking to rebuild and retool for the future, are in the midst of some serious trade talks. And the player at the center of it all, Travon Walker, the former first overall pick from the 2022 NFL Draft. That's right, the Jacksonville Jaguars are apparently open to trading Walker, and the Falcons are one of the teams strongly interested in bringing him on board. This news is huge for a couple of reasons. First, Walker, despite not fully living up to that first overall billing just yet, has shown flashes of the potential that made him such a coveted prospect. He's only 24 years old, still developing, and has already accumulated a solid resume: 151 pressures, 25 sacks, and over 160 tackles in his 3 seasons. That's not bad at all, especially for a player with his raw talent and athleticism. And let's be honest, the Falcons desperately need to bolster their pass rush. Last season, they generated just 131 pressures, but only managed 31 sacks. That's the second worst performance in the entire NFL. That's a glaring need that has been glaring for a while now, and Walker could be the piece they've been searching for to put pressure on opposing quarterbacks consistently. Now, imagine Walker in Atlanta's defensive line. His hometown is in Georgia, which adds a sentimental touch. But more importantly, it's about what he can bring on the field. The Falcons are looking to turn around their pass rush production, and adding a young, talented edge rusher like Walker could be exactly what they need to make that leap. His ability to rush the passer, combined with his size and agility, makes him a perfect fit for the Falcons' defensive scheme. And let's not forget, the Falcons have been building around their young quarterback, and a dominant pass rush is essential if they want to give him the best chance to succeed and bring that elusive Super Bowl trophy back to Atlanta. On the other side, the Jaguars could see this as an opportunity to recoup some draft capital and build for the future. With Walker's production so far, Jacksonville has to weigh whether they want to keep him long-term or look to upgrade that pass rush with new draft picks. They have Joshua Hines-Allen, who's shown promise, but perhaps they want to diversify their options and bring in more talent. By trading Walker, they could get multiple draft picks, which Liam Cohen and the Jaguars' front office can use to strengthen other areas of the roster. After all, the Jaguars have struggled to consistently pressure the quarterback, and getting more draft capital could help them fill those gaps. Now, let's talk about the implications for the Falcons. If this trade goes through, it's a game changer. They would be adding a player with a lot of untapped potential, a guy who, despite not being a double-digit sack producer yet, has the talent to develop into a premier edge rusher. His presence on the line would not only help increase sacks, but also disrupt opposing offenses, opening up opportunities for the secondary and linebackers to make plays. Think about the impact of having Walker lining up next to Grady Jarrett or other defensive linemen, creating mismatches and forcing quarterbacks to hurried throws. It's exactly the kind of boost Atlanta needs to become more aggressive and dominant on defense. And speaking of the Falcons' current pass rush, last season's numbers tell the story. They had a decent number of pressures, but sacks were lacking, just 31 on the season. That's far below the NFL average and shows how much they need a spark. Walker, with his speed and explosiveness, could be that spark. Plus, at just 24, he's entering what should be his prime years. This could be the start of a new chapter for him and for Atlanta's defense. What about the bigger picture? Well, if the Falcons manage to acquire Walker, it signals a strong statement of intent. They're not just building for the present, but are eyeing a serious playoff push and maybe even a deep run in the postseason. This move would also serve as a message to the rest of the NFC South. The Falcons are serious about contending again, and they're willing to make bold moves to get there. The NFC South has been a competitive division lately, with teams like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints always lurking, so making a splash like this could shift the balance of power. Of course, this kind of trade isn't just a simple swap of players. It involves negotiations, draft picks, salary cap considerations, and strategic planning. The Falcons would have to weigh whether the cost is worth the potential upside. But knowing the Falcons' front office, led by their scouting and coaching staff, they're always looking for ways to improve and adapt. If they see Walker as a piece that can help them reach their goals, expect this deal to be a real possibility. And let's not forget, the NFL offseason is a time of strategic moves. Every team is trying to position itself to be the best, to fill gaps, and to build a roster that can compete at the highest level. The Falcons, having shown flashes of promise last season, are clearly in that mode. With the addition of a player like Walker, they could bolster a defensive line that, while promising, needs more consistency and explosiveness to really threaten opposing offenses. Now, it's also interesting to consider how this potential trade fits into the Falcons' broader team-building strategy. They've been focusing on developing their young quarterback, working on offensive weapons, and now, it seems, they're turning their attention to fixing that defensive front. A strong pass rush can turn games around, create turnovers, and energize the entire team. The Falcons have a mix of young talent and veteran leadership, and adding Walker could be the missing piece to unlock their full defensive potential. Looking ahead, the NFL draft could also play a role here. If the Falcons do acquire Walker, they might still look to add another pass rusher or defensive lineman in the draft to complement him. Building a formidable front seven is essential in today's NFL, where passing attacks are always evolving and defenses need to adapt quickly. Walker's addition would give Atlanta a cornerstone on the edge, a player they can develop and build around for the next several seasons. Now, for the fans watching, I know you're probably thinking about the impact this could have on the upcoming season. Imagine Walker bringing that Georgia-born energy and talent to the Falcons' defensive line. Imagine the roar of the home crowd at Mercedes-Benz Stadium when he makes a crucial sack or forces a fumble. That kind of energy can be contagious, and it's exactly what the Falcons need to ignite their defense. The NFC South is competitive, but with this kind of upgrade, Atlanta could start to challenge the division's best teams more consistently. And of course, the Falcons' coaching staff will need to integrate Walker smoothly into their defensive schemes. They'll want to maximize his strengths, perhaps lining him up in different spots, using him to rush the passer, or even dropping him into coverage occasionally to keep offenses guessing. It's a lot of chess moves, but if executed well, it can transform the Falcons' defense from a middle-of-the-pack unit into a feared force. Now, let's talk about the potential ripple effects. Other teams in the division will be watching closely. The Saints, Bucs, and Panthers all have their own needs and strategies, but if Atlanta manages to land Walker, it could set off a chain reaction of moves across the NFC South. Maybe rival teams will try to counter with their own trades, or perhaps they'll shift their draft priorities. It's a fascinating game of chess, and the offseason is where it all begins. In the end, folks, the possible acquisition of Travon Walker by the Atlanta Falcons is more than just a headline. It's a strategic move that could define their trajectory for the next few seasons. It's about building a defense that can pressure the quarterback, create turnovers, and make life miserable for opposing offenses. It's about sending a message that Atlanta is back in the game, hungry, and ready to contend again. The NFL offseason is full of surprises, and this one could be one of the most impactful for the Falcons in recent memory. Remember, football is about passion, strategy, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. The Falcons are clearly aiming high, and with players like Walker potentially joining their ranks, the future looks bright. Just imagine that Georgia-born talent wreaking havoc on the field, energizing the team, and helping to turn Atlanta into a fortress once again. The NFC South better watch out because if this deal happens, the Falcons are going to be a team to reckon with. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest Atlanta Falcons news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. And now, Atlanta Falcons fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this potential move? Do you believe adding Travon Walker can be the spark that ignites Atlanta's defense and helps push them toward playoff success? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Falcons. This is an exciting time for Atlanta football, and your voice is a big part of that conversation. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, rumors, and analysis, so stay tuned for the latest Atlanta Falcons news. We're in this together, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for the Atlanta Falcons and their fans. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay passionate, stay proud, and go Falcons.